Hey there, Grade 7 historians, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to jump into this with you. Today's goal? It's actually pretty simple, but it's a total game changer. We're going to learn exactly how to think, analyze, and write like real professional historians. We're taking all that history you've been soaking up and turning into rock-solid, evidence-based arguments. Let's get into it.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. 1. Setting the medieval stage. 2. A changing world emerges. 3. Mapping causes and effects. 4. Model response, worked practice. 5. Checking for historical misconceptions. And 6. The final exit question.
Section 1. Setting the medieval stage.
Okay, so to really grasp what changed, we need a baseline, right? Long before the modern era even started, the world was absolutely buzzing with incredible achievements. Just look at China. Innovators there were already creating gunpowder, the magnetic compass, and printed books. Over in Africa, south of the Sahara, these rich, vibrant new forms of music and dance were flourishing. Meanwhile, medieval Japan was busy developing a constitution right alongside some breathtaking art and poetry. And in medieval Europe, well, they were taking their very first kind of tentative steps toward representative government. This right here, this is our baseline of continuity. Now, all these amazing global achievements, they tied directly into our Arrow standards focus on time, continuity, and change, as well as geography. You know, as historians, we're basically detectives. We're always looking for patterns of continuity, like what actually stays the same over time and how humans are interacting with their environments. Understanding this medieval baseline is exactly what gives us the power to spot when things suddenly, drastically shift.
Section 2. A changing world emerges. And that brings us to the core of our whole investigation today. Why do new ideas sometimes transform whole societies? I mean, really think about that. That's our essential question straight from the St. Paul Pacing Guide, and I want you to treat it like the central mystery we're trying to solve. How on earth do a few fresh thoughts manage to completely rewrite the rules of the world?
To solve that mystery, we've got to map out the timeline. We start by bridging those long, slow centuries of the Middle Ages with the early Americas right up to the 1500s. But then, bam, we hit this massive intellectual explosion. We've got the Renaissance and the Reformation spanning the 14th to 17th centuries. And that momentum just keeps building, culminating in the Enlightenment and the massive revolutions of the 17th and 18th centuries. It was these huge cultural developments that finally definitively brought the Middle Ages to a close.
Section 3. Mapping causes and effects.
All right, here is your ultimate blueprint for thinking like a pro. We're using the NCSS C3 framework, which gives us 4 really concrete steps for tackling these massive historical shifts. Step 1, trace causes and effects. Basically, what sparked the change? Step 2, evaluate source perspectives. Who's actually telling the story? Step 3, compare reform movements. And Step 4, communicate your conclusions. This is the exact playbook the experts use.
And honestly, following these steps helps us absolutely crush our Common Core literacy goals for social studies. Being literate here means being a critical thinker. It means using evidence-based reading to pull the hard facts out of texts and then applying evidence-based writing to prove your point. Every single argument you make about these radical new scientific or political ideas, it has got to be grounded in rock-solid text-based evidence. No exceptions.
Section 4. Model response. Worked practice.
So, how do we actually apply all these tools? Let's set up a comparison. On one side, we have our medieval baseline from Unit 1, right? Europe taking those very early, super slow steps toward representative government. On the other side, we contrast that directly with our early modern disruption from Unit 2, where the Enlightenment introduces completely new, truly revolutionary political ideas. I want you to keep this massive clash of eras right in the front of your mind when you sit down to write.
Let's look at what a top-tier model paragraph sounds like. Listen to this. While medieval Europe took early steps toward representative government, the Enlightenment introduced radically new political ideas that transformed entire societies. By analyzing Common Core historical texts, we can trace how these new philosophies directly caused the revolutionary reform movements of the changing world. Now that is exactly what a well-crafted, evidence-based response looks like.
Let's break down exactly why it works so well, piece by piece. First off, it directly answers our essential question about why new ideas transform societies. Second, it traces a crystal-clear cause and effect, showing us that new philosophies directly cause those reform movements. Third, it effectively compares 2 completely distinct eras, that medieval baseline versus the Enlightenment.
And finally, it explicitly mentions relying on evidence-based analysis from historical texts. It literally hits every single student outcome we talked about earlier. Boom.
Section 5. Checking for historical misconceptions.
Okay, before we wrap up, we need to make sure you don't fall into one of the most common historical traps out there, misunderstanding continuity versus change. Guys, please remember that historical eras, like the Middle Ages, they didn't just end overnight. People didn't wake up on a random Tuesday and say, "Hey everyone, welcome to the Renaissance." Transformation is a really complex, gradual, and overlapping process. It's heavily influenced by both human actions and geographic factors over a really long stretch of time. It's an evolution, definitely not an instant flip of a switch.
And this beautifully illustrates why studying history actually matters for you. As we examine these rapid changes, we focus on the era standard of society and identity. We study these massive structural shifts, revolutions, new economies, to figure out how they impact everyday people. By seeing how rapid change shaped folks back then, we can actually better understand our own identities in the super fast-paced world we live in today.
Section 6. The final exit question.
We've set the stage, we've learned the historian's tools, practiced the skills, and cleared up those misconceptions. Now, it is your turn. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Based on the causes and effects we've traced today, which new idea from the Renaissance, the Reformation, or the Enlightenment do you think had the greatest impact on society and identity? Take this question with you. Use your brand new evidence-based writing skills. Dig into those texts, trace those causes, and build your own brilliant conclusion. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy analyzing.